Well, I'm joined now by the author and columnist Joan Smith, who was one of the signatories to today's letter, and by the historian Tom Holland, who's been arguing on Twitter and elsewhere that this is a Christian country. So, Tom Holland, why?
Well, I think there's no question that the melancholy, long withdrawing roar of the sea of faith that Matthew Arnold heard 150 years ago is still certainly in retreat. But I think that a great religion has a lot of ruin in it. We're sitting here on a bank holiday. It's a bank holiday because it's Easter. And that's just one of many examples of the way in which the sea of faith, even though it's retreating, has certainly left plenty of rock pools. We have bishops in the House of Lords, the Queen is anointed, the head of the Church of England, all that. But I think more importantly than that, this has been a Christian country for 1,500 years or more. And it has saturated our ethics, our values, our morals, our understanding of concepts such as the law in ways that mean that even though people may not be believing Christians, their presumptions remain nevertheless very Christian indeed.
Joan Smith, I mean, that's indisputable, isn't it?
What's indisputable is that this was a Christian country. Where I take issue is I don't think it is anymore. I mean, statistically, it just isn't, because a majority of people in the country, in polls and so on, say that either they have no belief or they belong to other faiths, like Islam or the Hindus or whatever.
It's more Christian than anything else, isn't it?
Yes, but the point is it was Christian, and we have all these relics, like an established church and so on. But people are incredibly selective when they talk about Christian values. I mean, we had a Christian king who beheaded 2 of his wives. Now, is extreme domestic violence a Christian value?
I mean, you're not necessarily arguing that being Christian is a good thing per se, are you?
Well, I think that there are certain moral fundamentals that people cling to in this country. I think it's important to point out that Christianity has informed the left as much as the right. Tony Benn died a few months ago, and he was overt about the fact that he followed the teachings of Jesus. Now, of course, there are all many different ways in which Christianity can be interpreted, and I would argue that actually that is the key significant fact about Christianity, is precisely that it does have a kind of inherent flexibility, an inherent process to evolve that explains a great deal about why, by and large, secular societies in the world now were previously Christian.
Joan Smith, isn't the bigger question, why does it matter? I mean, even if Britain is a Christian country, it doesn't really bother anybody.
No, it matters because of what Cameron is saying. So Cameron is not just saying, here am I expressing my personal beliefs. What he is saying, and I'm not just talking about his Church Times article, I'm talking about what he said to Christian organisations when he invited them to Downing Street a few days ago.
But everybody gets invited to Downing Street.
Yes, but what he said was that he wanted to give Christianity a privileged position. He actually used this extraordinary metaphor where he described, he said he wanted Christian organisations to view him as a sort of giant dino rod, clearing blockages for Christian organisations in Whitehall. Now, the point about that is
Hindus,
this is wishful
Sikhs,
thinking.
Muslims, they all process in and out of those Downing Street receptions.
Yes, but people like the British Humanist Association, which assembled the signatories to this letter, it's the secular people who don't get that access. And I think we should be very worried if public money and also, access to ministers is being offered to religious groups when it isn't being offered to the rest of
society. There is politics here, isn't there?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
And there is politics at work right now.
Yes, and I think that this is definitely a Tory shade of Christianity, because what Cameron is harking back to, he said that Jesus founded the big society wonderfully, and I think that what he's harking back to is the time when the churches ran the charity, the churches through the parishes did the poor relief, the churches ran the schools and the hospitals, and I think that if he's shrinking the state, he's obviously very keen to see Christian charitable concerns step in.
Isn't the truth that that's what really bothers you, Joan Smith? It really bothers you that David Cameron is trying to speak for the nation when you don't agree with him?
No, he isn't speaking for the nation. It's wishful thinking. He's talking about a society that he wishes existed, and I'll tell you why it matters. One of the first things that this government did was take away public money, Home Office funding, from the Poppy Project, which is a fantastic secular organisation which looked after hundreds and hundreds of women rescued from traffickers, and gave it to the Salvation Army, which is an evangelical Christian organisation. And I don't see why Christian organisations, simply because they have the same worldview as the Prime Minister, should get that privileged access to public funds. I object to that as a taxpayer. I also object to it as somebody who passionately believes in reducing violence against women.
I'm really sorry, but we've got to leave it there. Joan Smith, Tom Holland, thank you both very much for coming in.